Good morning, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B, and it is just gone 5:30. I've been up most of the night pondering a question that was posed to me, and I can't think of any time more fitting than dawn as to do this video, because this question is all about a new dawning of energy. And so before I go into it, and this will be a relatively serious video, and I hope that it helps some people out there. I really do. So this was the question that was asked. And I've made notes, and I don't normally make notes for videos. I normally, as I've said in previous videos, am given a theme, and then I channel most of the information. It just flows through me. But I didn't want to miss anything, and I am taking this particular question exceptionally serious, so I made notes. So bear with me if I'm looking down and referring to my notes from time to time. The question was, what if you feel like you've been a narcissist for years? Or, sorry, what if you feel you've been narcissistic? And I should qualify that, because a narcissist and narcissistic are two different things. A narcissist is, and I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't diagnose anybody with a narcissistic personality disorder. That's the farthest end of the spectrum you can get. So there is a difference between a narcissist and somebody who displays narcissistic characteristics. Somebody who is a narcissist is at the furthest end of the spectrum with, and then the spectrum goes all the way from narcissistic personality disorder to many toxic narcissistic traits into neutrality, and then out the other side into empathy and toxic empathy, and a lot of what I talked about yesterday in that energy of self-sacrifice. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's one spectrum, and I've done multiple videos on this. Please check the narcissist playlist for some background on the narcissist empath paradigm. Because on one end of the spectrum you have narcissistic energy, and on the other end of the spectrum you have empath energy. Both are born from trauma. Both have shadow elements involved, whereas the empath hurts self, a narcissist hurts others. So that wounding is projected inwards in an internalization of shame and trauma, and an externalization of shame and trauma. So that is a little bit background on regards to this. So back to the question. What if you feel like you've been a narcissist, or you've been narcissistic for years, but now your heart is opening and you are beginning to see you've been doing wrong? So you can see why this question posed to me was exceptionally thought-provoking, is what I'm looking for. So now that I've explained that narcissism is a spectrum, I'm going to go on to a little bit more background of how empathy and narcissism are created from trauma. Now, that's not to say that you aren't born for the empaths. They're like, I was just born like this. Yes, you were born with natural intuitive gifts and empathy, and that became heightened with a lot more trauma. So there are some people that are in the camp that say that being an empath is born of trauma. You need to have the skills in you to go into that camp to begin with. So it's like an exacerbation of something, a skill that you're born with. When the trauma comes and you're in hypervigilance, again, go and watch yesterday's video on scapegoats, and you'll get a little bit more information on that. On the other end of the spectrum, we have narcissism, and it was born in trauma. where oftentimes there would have been a narcissist in the family lineage, and so it's a learned behavior. It's for survival. It's like I'm not getting my needs met in this family tree, so I'm going to learn to self-satisfy through maladaptive behaviors. And so from a trauma learning perspective, this is very much your fight response. So there's 4 responses to trauma for our nervous system that kicks in. Those are fight, fawn, freeze, or flight, sorry, the last one, flight. Where an empath is very much in the energy often of that people-pleasing, that would be a fawning response, a fawn trauma response, or a freeze or a flight can be in this side. The other side of the spectrum when it comes to a trauma response is a fight. So this is a fight energy of kind of like, well, if I'm not going to get what I want, then fuck you. I'm going to take what I want out of life any which way I can, and it doesn't matter who gets hurt as long as my needs are getting met. Dukes up, spiritually speaking. So if you are interested in understanding more about trauma responses, I'm going to highly recommend that no matter which camp you're in, empath or narcissist, that you go and you purchase a copy of Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder: From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. And he goes into, in this book, in large sections, explaining the fight response and that narcissistic attitude that gets born there. So this will be an excellent resource for self-discovery for anyone, because if you identify with either of these terms, empath or narcissistic behavior, then what is at play is, as I mentioned in yesterday's video again, there's a lot of crossovers, empath and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. The same can be said for narcissist and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So narcissistic behavior and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, there's crosses over there. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to purchase a copy of this book and begin to do self-discovery. So in response to the question that has been posed, I'm going to give you my answer. And my answer is going to differ from other professional people out there, even the best of the best, okay? And for those that, are recovering from narcissistic abuse, I've sang the praises, and I still do sing the praises of Dr. Ramani. Dr. Ramani is kind of the leading expert when it comes from a psychological point of view to dealing with narcissistic abuse, and has even counseled narcissistic individuals. And her belief is that no, narcissism cannot be cured. And while there may be slight improvements, it really is something that is so deeply ingrained that it can't change. And while I'm going to differ from her opinion, because I'm going to say, yes, I agree, and no, I don't agree. Yes, I agree with her when it comes to people who have gotten so far on the ends of the spectrum that they would, in fact, qualify for a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. But the problem is these people don't think there's anything wrong with them, so they're not going to go to a psychiatrist and get a diagnosis. Therefore, no, they can't change. Nobody can change if they don't acknowledge or recognize that there's a problem. But there's one element in her vantage point that she's not taking into consideration in regards to this particular question, because he said, or she said, I don't know, but now there is my heart is opening, okay? So what is going on here is, in my opinion, an awakening is at play. So when you add, and I've said in multiple my recent videos, there's two camps and two different perspectives with overlapping, and we need to bridge the gap between them, between psychological camp and that of spiritual camp. So while, yes, I would agree that the likelihood of somebody who is narcissistic or a narcissist, either or, is unlikely to be able to heal themselves. When you add the element of spirituality into the mix, there isn't much that spirituality can't touch and make you face and make things go from the unconscious into the conscious. That's what an awakening is. An awakening is bringing all of the shadow elements of selves through the processes of dark night of the soul and ego death and heart expansions and new levels of awareness coming in and making it all conscious. So when it becomes conscious, anything can be healed if you are willing to put the work in. But what is the work? Because if the majority of experts out there are sitting in the psychological camp and saying, no, there's no cure, there's nothing that can be done, what happens to all of those people that are currently going through their own awakening and realizing, oh shit, I've been a bit of a bastard? And that level of awareness would hit like a ton of bricks. I know with my awakening, it's been difficult enough to come to the realization that I was worthy, that I was deserving, that I was good. I can only imagine how difficult it is for somebody to come to awakening and go, oh crap, there's something greater and bigger at play in this world, and I'm now being held accountable, and karma's laying down heavy on me, and I'm being shown all of the truths, and the truths are ugly. So I wanted to utilize my background as an trained in addictions counseling, trained as a Reiki master, well-researched and trauma-informed at this stage, to come up with a strategy for individuals that are on the awakening path and awakening to the reality that they have narcissistic traits and what they can do about it now to heal, because resources for you are limited. So I've come up with a strategy, and the strategy is based around 4 principles. And those 4 principles are radical honesty, radical ownership, radical accountability, and radical atonement. Traditionally, from the spiritual camp or from a religious point of view, there was a time and a place where people believed that they could go into a church and confess their sins and they would be absolved of them. In a spiritual awakening, that's not reality, and that's not going to assist you. So just confessing your sins, while certainly an element of this, is not going to be enough to right the karma. So I am proposing a mission of sorts to those brave enough, those warriors that are determined enough to course correct their life and do a massive U-turn back into balance, into health, into wellness, and into the light. So what we're going to do is it's going to start as a journaling activity that's going to expand outwards. So you're going to get yourself a journal or some papers, or set yourself up with a journal on your computer, or set up, get a template going, and you're going to create 4 columns. In the first column, and this is going to take a little bit of time to go through this. It's not something that maybe will be done in one sitting. It may take months, depending on how many things that you have done. It may take quite some time. So in column number 1, we're going to use our radical honesty, and we're going to do a self-audit of all of our acts that we have done that have victimized and hurt other people. So in this self-audit, we're going to list every lie, every manipulation, every cheat, everything you've ever stolen, every time you've gaslit, every act of cruelty, every act of sexual abuse, every act of physical abuse, every act of mental abuse, every act of emotional abuse, every act of reactive abuse, every act of financial abuse, every act of harassment, every act of bullying, and every act of sexual assault. And any other acts that you have participated in that were not ethical, not moral, and not legal. So that in itself is going to require a real, hard, honest look. I have been saying throughout this entire process, you need to go into the gunk, into the muck to unfuck. And this is the process that you're going to have to utilize to unfuck your life. Because the course trajectory that you're on has gotten you so far. And if you're wanting to course correct and get back into a heart-centered, balanced wholeness, it's going to have to start with a certain degree of honesty with yourself. It always starts with self and taking ownership with yourself. So this column is all about these first 2 points of radical honesty and radical ownership. Next up, in column number 2, you're going to put the name of the individual that you did these acts to, so that you are doing a log and keeping a record. And so some individuals might be listed on multiple pages with multiple acts. Some people might just have one. And in this, we are preparing ourselves for what's coming next. And this is taken out of AA as a process of atonement. Addicts are often told that they need to make right their wrongs. And so once we have completed column A and column B, we're going to start writing letters. And you're going to write letters to all of those individuals in column A, column B, all of the individuals in column B. And I would suggest writing this letter old school on a piece of paper in an envelope that you mail to them. Otherwise, an email, not via text or messenger or anything else like that. This is an official letter that you're going to write. So on the front of your letter, you're going to write who the letter is addressed to, and you're going to do regarding RE ... the truth. And that's it. The truth, so that they're aware that they have just been given a truth bomb. And they have the choice, therefore, to open it, to not open it, to burn it. It depends on how the situation was left. They may not read it, but you've written it and you've mailed it, is the key point here. So there's going to be certain rules into your truth letter. The first rule is you are simply going to state, I am sorry, I did the following. There is to be no excuses, no justifications, no explanations, no future faking or empty promises of change, no pleading for forgiveness, no self-pity or self-victimization, no re-scripting, and no finger pointing. Your trauma, so we've established that narcissistic traits are created from trauma, so I'm not discounting that, but your trauma is not their problem, okay? All that this is a means to be brutally honest with what you have done, and so simply is a list of everything that you've done, and I am sorry, I have done the following. And a pointer to this is there's to be no expectations of a response. That's, again, they don't owe you anything. So you may or may not get a response. Not getting a response is probably going to be preferable to you, because if you do get a response, you may have to suck it up. And when I say that, I do not mean to say that you should accept or tolerate abuse in any way yourself. If they come back at you with abusive behavior, absolutely not. But some people might feel the need to express themselves, and you might not like what they have to say. But I'm sure they didn't like all of those things that you did to them. So accept that you may receive back a response that is unpleasant, and you're going to leave it there. There's not going to be a follow-up response. So another rule is there's not to be a follow-up response to your letter. There's no back and forth. This isn't opening the gateway to renegotiate and get back in and love bomb, or use any of those other tricks that you've used in the past. If you've used them, the hoovering, the love bombing, the breadcrumbing, the future faking, any of these types of things, we're not opening a door here. We're giving people closure. We're closing the door. So this isn't to re-establish a connection with somebody. This is to give somebody else peace, is what this is for. So there's to be no retaliation and no response giving. There's to be no breaching of somebody's boundaries if they've established them. In fact, it's advisable that you create your own boundary at this stage of the game. Putting yourself in isolation or hermit mode for 1 year. It is advised for all victims of narcissistic abuse to not date or not get into a relationship for an entire year, so that they can heal from the damage that has been done. So you're going to do the same. You're going to place yourself and take the pledge. You can go watch video of January 1st of this year called The Pledge, and you're going to take the pledge to yourself that you are going to be in relationship with yourself, so that you can take the time that is needed to heal and repair and do the shadow work and do the inner child work and do the trauma recovery and all the other things, so that you can bring yourself back into wholeness. So this is not a time to date. This is not a time to go out looking for new relationships or troll dating sites or anything like that. In fact, delete all the dating sites. Maybe perhaps even delete your social media. Would it be advisable for a year? And take a time out. Take a time out, because if you are displaying narcissistic traits, you're toxic. And if you're toxic, being around other people while you're still in toxicity is not going to help you heal. And it's not going to help anybody else heal either. So taking the time to say, I'm going to take a year to just be with myself and get to know myself and heal myself and do the work that is required to detoxify myself from the energy that is narcissistic. Column 3, therefore, that we have is an opportunity for you to feel a sense of accomplishment, and I did it. So with every letter that you have sent, you get to do a check mark, and you'll accumulate check marks that's your reward. That's the only reward you're getting, is your own reward for doing the right thing. Column 4 is going to be a little bit more difficult and time-consuming, depending on how long your list in column 1 was, or column A. This is your acts of atonement, your radical acts of atonement. Simply saying to somebody that you apologize is not going to clear your karma. Spiritually speaking, everything works in the power of 3s. 3 is a very powerful number. So for every act that you have done, you are going to do 3 acts of atonement. And what is that going to look like? With all the time that you now have with not dating and not being on social media and not scrolling and not doing any of those things, you're going to have lots of time to go get a volunteer job, perhaps. If you don't have the opportunity to get a volunteer job, then go and pick up litter on the side of the road or around your town as you're out walking in perfect alignment, so that you can get some meditation and mindfulness practice happening into your life as well. If you don't know about aligned walking and you're new to my channel, please check out the aligned walking video, because getting out walking and being in nature and helping ground yourself is going to be a healing technique that you can help use while you go through these very difficult assignments. Other types of acts of atonement that you could potentially do is community service in one way or another. Help people. Just help people while you're out and about. If you see somebody that is struggling, help them. It is not about whipping your camera out and say, look at me, I'm helping this homeless person. No, we're learning humility, which means we're not videoing our acts of kindness. We are just atoning. And so atoning is for you and for that person. And that's it. Make homeless people sandwiches and go out and hand them out without your camera. Mow your elderly neighbor's lawn or shovel their driveway in the winter. Always be an observant to ways that you can potentially assist and help others, because you have done harm to others and now you're going to atone for it by being kind to others. And in learning to be kind to others, you will be learning what it feels like to have the energy of kindness. And so you then will start to develop self-love, self-compassion, and self-kindness through these acts of kindness. The more you cultivate the energies within yourself and healing those energies, and I have lots of videos when it comes to healing trauma, so please dive into that playlist that if you need, so that you can start working on other tools and tricks to assist you in acts of self-love, acts of self-compassion, acts of self-forgiveness, which is going to be a challenging one for you, but one that will have to be part of the process. If you need help on this process, you can definitely look for communities. If there are communities that you could potentially join, such as AA or Narcotics Anonymous, if you have also substance usage that may provide you with a sense of community. There are support groups, not so much really support groups for narcissistic people, but there are support groups out there that you might be able to find that resonates with you that are trauma-based. So a cognitive behavioral therapy group or a dialectic behavioral therapy group, a PTSD survivors group, complex post-traumatic stress disorders group. These types of groups might be able to assist you. If you are looking for counseling, you want to make sure that you find somebody that is a transpersonal counselor and has knowledge of trauma, or a trauma-based therapist or coach. If you want to book with me, that is a possibility that we can discuss. The way to get in touch with me is through the description below, and I will be happy to come up with some extra tools and strategies, or to assist you as the shadow elements of self comes up in doing this tool and strategy that I'm giving to you now. I don't recommend using this in any way, shape, or form as any way to boost your ego. This is not an ego booster project. So, not going to your friends and family and saying, look at me, how great I am. I'm doing volunteer work. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. We're going to learn to be with self and be in humbleness and be in atonement. So it's not about boosting your own ego. It's not. It's about course correcting all of the things that you have done wrong. So as I said, your reward is a check mark for every letter written, and then you can give yourself an additional check mark or highlight out every single act that you do that counters one of your other acts that weren't so kind. So 3 acts of kindness to every 1 act of cruelty. And yes, it's cruelty. So there's your first bit of ouch, is what you have done to people is taking ownership of the fact that you have been cruel, hurtful, mean, and done damage. You have done damage on the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual realms of another human being. And for that, it's going to require the atonement process, which I am giving to you, to right some of these wrongs and energetically put back into balance a very grossly out of balance system. So if you have managed to watch this video till the very end, fair play to you. That takes balls. I give you credit. If you are sitting in this energy and you are facing a lot of shame, you have a lot of mountains to climb, but you can climb them 1 step at a time, 1 breath at a time, 1 act of kindness at a time. It will take work. It will take dedication. It will take perseverance. It will take a lot of faith and a lot of prayer, but you can do it. It is possible. So with that said, I'm going to send all of you, no matter what end of the spectrum that you are in, I'm going to send you my utmost love and hope that you find your path into the light and find the healing that you require to bring back a sense of peace and harmony, not just to you, but to those all around you, and thus making the entire world a better place for everybody to be in. Peace out.